off.
Sorry.
Start off by saying I appreciate everything you guys are going to do from here on out for these kids, for yourselves, for the community. You know, it's a lot of time, a lot of emotion, a lot of physical commitment. And I want to say on behalf of us up here, some of the board members, that I really appreciate it. Okay? That never goes understated. You might get put under a microscope a few times. You might get yelled at. I might berate you a couple times. But it's never goes without appreciation. Okay? You guys are in trouble, by the way, because I'm not coaching this year. So I'll be able to go around to everybody's practices, everybody's games, and I'll be able to correct every rule you're breaking. I'll have plenty of time on my hands. Okay? So first off, I'm going to start with the mission statement of Taylorsville Fast Pitch. It is the mission of the Taylorsville Fast Pitch Softball League to educate and empower today's youth with confidence, commitment, and integrity so that they can live a productive and successful tomorrow. Our goal is to teach young athletes respect for themselves, their peers, and their community by instilling a code of ethics built on honesty, responsibility, and teamwork. Together, our players, families, volunteers work with unyielding spirit to cultivate a safe and disciplined environment so every child can reach their full potential, develop their talents, increase their skills in the game of softball, and more importantly, life. Again, thank you all for volunteering. We're all volunteers. Takes a lot of, you know, they say every child takes a village. Well, think about 350 children. Takes a lot of people to make that work, okay? I'm going to go first, I'm going to say something that's going to be off the wall. Cheeseburger. Okay? All right? Cheeseburger. Said it twice. Okay? I'll explain that after the meeting. First off, I'm going to go down the line here and introduce our board members that are here. It's very important to get to know your VPs. Some aren't here. They're at the clinics down over in Brighton. So first off, I'm going to introduce Nate Perry. He's our equipment manager. Okay? So if you have a problem with equipment, something breaks, something doesn't fit, come see him or come see me. I'll help you out as well. Next we have Terry. She's our 19 plus VP. So if you're 19 plus, this is the lady you come to first with any issues. Okay? Next we have Haley Perry. She's our 14U VP. So if you're in 14s, that's the lady you would see if you have any issues. Our other VPs are Andrea. She's not here right now. She's our 16, 18U VP. Just 8? Just 8U VP?
Ashley, 16.
Okay, and then her daughter Ashley is 16, 18. Sorry about the mix-up. I apologize. I'll be running T-ball as sort of a VP / coach. Here to my right is Jen Griffiths. She is our UIC. She'll almost always be there every single night, every single day. So if you have a rule question, this is the lady to come see. Okay? I can answer a lot of rule questions, but she is the definitive book on the rules. She will be there Saturdays, Mondays, Wednesdays. Okay?
Pretty much any time the league is playing, I'll be there.
Yeah. So if you have a question about rules, come see her. You'll get a definite answer. If you come see me, if she's not available, if I can answer it, I'll answer to the best of my ability. If I don't know the answer, of course, I'll direct it to her. And behind me is a lady that really makes this all spin and work. I can't speak enough volumes. And yes, I'm a little biased because she's my wife. But if you guys would have known what we went through a few years ago, and I'm not going to go into that, she really resurrected this league from the dead. Okay? This is my wife. She's the president of the league, Natalie. Okay, so yeah, we don't have a 10U and 12U VP, so Haley, Natalie, and Andrea will be teaming up on that. So if you're in those two age groups, you can go see any one of those, and they'll be able to help you with your questions or concerns or complaints.
Or you can volunteer to be.
Yeah, right,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, if you're going to be around, you can volunteer for a VP. It's relatively easy after the season starts, other than confrontations. So,
Just wait.
the first thing I want to go over after the chain of command is a pretty negative thing, but you as coaches, we're going to have you pretty much enforcing this, is if a player doesn't pay, they don't play. Okay?
Just to dive into that a little bit more, if they contact us and we do scholarships, if we do payment plans, we just want them to contact us and say, hey, we really can't afford it, which is fine. We don't want girls not to play because they can't afford it. But we also want them to understand that, you know, we're talking a couple of seasons where they haven't paid, they haven't communicated with us. Like, that's not what we want. We just want communication from them. So.
And just to give you an idea, we've lost about $3,000 between spring to All-Stars of this year of non-payment of fees. That's quite a bit for a nonprofit, okay? And we can only do so much. We're not a collection agency. We're not going to send you to a collection agency. That's not something we want to do.
So if that's an issue, you'll let us know. If we
Yes.
have a player who's in that situation.
Yes.
And I see some pretty big guys around here.
I'm right there with you.
No veto, that'd be the plan.
So the spring season will start April the 6th. That's a Saturday. 8s up to 14s will be playing that day, and T-ball. Okay?
T-ball's April 13th. Sorry.
Slow, get your stuff straight.
What do you want me to look at?
It's not on here, so I wouldn't know.
Oh, sorry.
So T-ball will start April 13th, okay? I know, they're not doing it on. Yep. So game days for each age group, 8s, 12s, 16, 18s will play on Mondays, starting at 5:30. Games start at 5:30. 10U, 14U, 19 plus will be Wednesdays. And Saturdays, preferably afternoon. We're still waiting to hear back from the county, because sometimes we switch to mornings and afternoons. Sometimes we go to afternoon. We prefer afternoons just because I don't like to wake up early. But Saturday afternoons, T-ball through 14s will play. Okay? There will be a season-end tournament May 17th to 18th for 8U to 14s. The other upper echelon teams will play their tournaments during the regular game dates. Actually, it says to be determined, but usually it's during the regular nights, Wednesdays and Mondays. Closing ceremonies will be the last day of season games. We need teams to stick around for that, okay? I know it's difficult to do if you're the first game and you're waiting for that last game to be played, but in the past we've had teams completely leave, and then we're trying to get them the awards, and no one ever comes picks up the awards or anything. So we would like to have everybody there, so we can recognize each and every girl. Because we get the coaches out there, they introduce their team. It's important that these girls get recognized for their efforts throughout the season, given to them, no matter what position they're in. Okay? So awards will be given to T-ball and 8U. Those will be participation awards. Okay? 10U all the way up will be first through third place. Okay? We just want to cultivate with those younger age groups that they're having fun, they're learning, but it's not all about winning. Okay?
So those of you who have been with us for a while know that we usually do an appreciation barbecue for all of our teams. This year, that will be on Saturday, June 1st. That's June 1st. The time is to be determined, but we'll be over at the Vista Park that's close to the church. Just so everybody is aware of that, you can let your teams know. We'll send out a flyer and everything as well, but we're gonna attempt to do a movie then too. Again.
Next issue is communication. Please pay attention to your coaches group meeting. That's where most of our information is given out. A lot of people don't get their emails, so we don't do the email system, we do the group. If you don't like it, acknowledge it, or comment in there, eventually GroupMe will kick you out and you won't receive messages. So whatever's posted, just say, got it, okay, like it, do whatever you do whenever you see a post. That way it'll keep you in the loop, okay? One major area of communication is rainouts. Rainouts during the week, we usually know about probably close to 3 p.m. and we get that information out as quickly as possible. Saturdays, we'll probably know the night before if we're going to play out. Sometimes it goes up to the minute, but we try to get that information out as close as possible. So don't be flooding the Facebook page with all we ring out, games canceled or what have you. There are, of course, there's always instances where we get there, fields are playable, and then downpours. Okay, that's something way beyond our control. So bear with us when those issues arise. So if you have a communication device for your team, please add your VPs. They're not going to be stepping on your toes. They're just going to be there to monitor things in case there's issues and other things. So we have a impartial witness between the communication with the parents and the coaches. Okay? We're not trying to intrude. We're not trying to do anything. We just know that issues arise. We don't get informed of the issues, and then we hear about it later, and we're behind the 8 ball trying to figure out how to adjust and fix those issues. Okay? Check with your parents. There's a place on the registration form, but you guys don't really have access to that. Check with your parents about any medical issues, social issues, or anything of those types, that special needs that your players may need. Okay? And you also might want to inform your VP of that, so in the future, if something arises, they know about it. One thing we want to be positive. We always want to be positive. There are some negative things that come out of this sport, but when we're on the field, we want those girls in the dugouts cheering positive cheers for their team. No negative cheers against the other teams. There are some cheers out there that are very borderline that you may be asked not to cheer. Okay? And it's not trying to repress your team or be sticklers. It's just some stuff loves certain people and some stuff doesn't. Okay? One of them is that's borderline is watch the pitcher, watch the pretty little pitcher. I know that's trying to get your team to watch the new pitcher coming in, but that can be a negative annotation toward the pitcher. So just be aware of your, kind of like read the room. Kind of like I'm like reading the room here, everybody's looking at me like, are we done yet? Okay? So read the room. If you know the other coach and you guys are on good terms, maybe you can do that, you know? So be very appropriate. Silver.
Got it.
Silver. Okay? I'll explain those later.
They go with the cheeseburger.
Yes. Good idea. Scorekeepers. We do everything to Game Changer, the green app. Okay? Dave, our score guru, he will load most of the season games. They'll be in there.
And your teams.
And your teams. So you don't need to create a team in there. He'll do that. When we get to the season end tournament, that's when you'll have to create new games. Okay? And if you need tutoring on that, show up like an hour before the game, come see Dave, and he can help you set all that up, okay? We require every team to have a scorekeeper that is not a coach. No coaches should be keeping score, okay? We want the coaches focused on their players, okay? That being said, every team should have a scorekeeper and team manager. Team manager, in my opinion, should be taking care of treats, the fundraisers we're doing, jerseys, and all that stuff. And we hand those out, okay? Next on team manager, we ask every team to have a team manager, okay? It's very beneficial to a coach to have a team manager. Next, we're going to go into, seems a little odd going into this venture, but All-Stars. All-Stars, we'll do a tryout. That will be May the 3rd for 8U to 16-18. That's a Friday evening. Of course, we don't do All-Stars for T-ball. There's no thing. And 19 plus, we don't know if there's going to be an All-Star season or not. Okay?
What's that date?
May 3rd. It'll be at Vista Fields starting at 5:30.
And what age group?
From 8U to 14. 16, 18, I'm sorry. Girls need to show up and they need to be warmed up. There's not going to be hardly any time to warm girls up and do the tryouts. Tryouts take approximately 2 hours. Okay? We have a ton of girls there. That's a lot of work and a lot of moving parts. Okay?
What about all-star coaches? How do you pick those out?
So all-star coaches will be selected by the board.
There's also a survey that's gonna be sent out.
There will be a survey sent out to just all-star.
No, everybody.
There will be a survey sent out to everybody. That survey is not going to exactly determine the coach, but will help determine the coach. Okay? So, like, if we get a coach that gets a lot of votes, say, yeah, we want him as an all-star coach or her as an all-star coach, we would definitely consider that coach and look at it in public. Okay? All right? But it will.
Sorry, I'm new to this program. Like, what does that mean? Like, do they just play one game? Do they
Oh,
play
no,
all
all-star,
summer?
you play tournaments.
In the summer.
In the
Okay.
summer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So-
Usually a minimum of 3, upwards of like 6 or 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it depends on how much your team raises. The board puts out a certain amount of money, but then your team has to come up with the rest if you want to play more tournaments.
You're pretty much on your own.
And then you just go play against the comp teams in the
Yeah,
area.
it's a-
Other all-star teams.
And other all-star
Okay.
teams.
Yeah. We're considered like almost a C level.
Okay.
When we make our all-star teams. There's USSSA, there's USA, and D1 tournaments. You could play every weekend of the summer if you want.
Right.
When you form your all-star teams, you're pretty much kind of on your own. If you need support from the league, of course, we'll be there. But once you form your teams, you go on your own and you figure it out. There are certain tournaments we're going to require you to attend. They're USSSA. So we know you're there and represent Taylorsville, okay? And those will be given out at a later date with the dates on them. That being said, when we do tryouts, we need coaches assisting. Even if you're not interested in being an all-star coach, we need help there. I got new knees. I can't be out there running everything myself, okay?
What was that?
Nate here, he's been in the league a few years now. He can't be out there running all by himself. Okay? Alright? So we need help from the age group. Or if you have, even if you're not coaching the age group and you want to come help, that is most appreciated. Trust me. If a girl is 12 and she's playing up in 14s, she must play all-stars in her appropriate age, which would be 12. Okay? So if a girl's playing up, if she wants to play all-stars, she has to play in her appropriate age group. okay? That's a huge issue, but that's just the way it has to be.
And dates are determined, age and dates of birthday?
January 1st, what age they are?
Okay, of that year.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
We're gonna be getting coaches to fill out nomination forms for All-Stars and be turned into their VPs. How are we doing for the week or by All-Star?
By all sorts of tryouts, yeah.
So we'll get nomination forms out to you, and you'll turn those in by, prior to All-Star tryouts.
Is
Okay?
that our team or everyone's team?
Your
Like, are we
team,
nominating our own kid, or are we
so
nominating
you'll,
like,
you'll
you like this
nominate
one?
from your own team and then from the other teams too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Head coaches will determine, has to fill out a coach's application, of course. Your VP will inform you guys when this is available. And again, the survey will be sent out to everybody to help, start determining those coaches. Because if a coach doesn't want to coach All-Stars, but he's gotten a lot of input from the community, from the league, saying, hey, these people really want you to coach, or you're interested, okay? All right, maybe we can nudge them in the right direction, right, Judd?
Yep.
If a player or parent, or anybody associated with that player is issued a warning anytime during the season, they would not be chosen for All-Stars. Okay?
Issued a warning or ejected? Okay.
So, usually the warning is a written warning. With parents and spectators, it's usually them getting ejected from the game. Okay? Getting ejected from the fields. Because we're not going to write up a spectator. We're not, if an umpire or a board member ejects them from the field, that eliminates whatever player they're associated with, ineligible for All-Stars. Okay? So, and we all know, well, maybe we all don't know. Who's the first person we come to when there's an unruly spectator?
Jen.
The coaches.
Coaches, yeah.
Coaches are responsible for the parents and the spectators. Okay? The umpire, unless he's had enough or she's had enough, will come to the coach and say, hey, you need to calm this person down. I don't want to hear no more. Okay? If it's you, the coach on the field, they'll probably tell you something one time, and probably the second time you're going to be banned just to the dugout. You're not to leave the dugout. Okay? And if you get ejected, then we have to discuss that further, and you're probably going to be banned or suspended a couple games. Okay? We know it all gets heated out there. Unfortunately, I've been kicked out of the league 3 or 4 times. No lie.
Suspended, yeah.
I've tried to get handle on my anger issues, and I think for the last couple of seasons I've done fairly well. Not the best, okay? I still have issues with some coaches and umpires. Never the girls, okay? But anyway. Any questions on that? Concerns? I'll go over the discipline procedure again a little later on, okay? Equipment. We lose about 30% of equipment due to not being turned back in, damaged, lost, what have you. We lose about 30% every year, okay? So it is very important that you inspect your equipment almost on a weekly basis. Because a lot of times you guys can prevent stuff from getting worse to where at the end of the season we just have to throw it away. Okay? So we ask that you inspect your equipment, make sure it's safe for the girls, and so forth and so forth. Especially the catcher's equipment. Missing straps, screws, what have you. Okay? Make sure it still fits, make sure it fits well, make sure it's secured. Helmets, we don't need chin straps anymore, but make sure all the screws are in place and all the padding is in place. Okay, we'll have plenty of substitutes if, like when the pad goes missing, don't even try and glue that on because it's not going to work. I can tell you right now.
Can you tell us what kind of equipment we get? Like how many balls we get?
I cannot give you the count of balls right now because I don't know how many we have. That's an issue because we lose a lot. Usually the umpires come and give us back game balls. But if a team walks off with one, you know, that takes our supply down as it goes on the season. I try to give everybody anywhere between 6 to 10 balls apiece for all ages. But that really depends on how many balls we get back. So that will be determined as we go. I don't give out brand new balls because a new case of balls is upwards of $80. So very pricey. If we have a brand new team that doesn't have balls at the end, maybe I will give them a few to get started. I know that's a price you guys incur on your own, and I apologize about that, but it's very expensive for that. That's why I try and turn them back in after games and stuff. So balls will be determined by how the supply is. You get a set of catcher's gear, some bats, maybe 2, maybe even 3 bats. We try to give everybody at least 2 team bats to start with, and 4 batting helmets, because you'll have 4 people on base, one batting, 3 on base, if nobody has helmets. The upper age groups usually have a lot of their own helmets, so and that's about it. And you'll get a bag to put everything in. Okay. 8U and T-ball also receive a tee, so they can work off the tee. Okay.
One other thing too is we had a lot of issues with this last time with the lack of balls that we get. If your player hits a home run, they can take a picture with the ball, but they are not able to keep the game winning balls. Just so you guys have a heads up. We had a lot of issues with that last year.
Softballs are really expensive. I think we pay about $72 for a dozen. They're outrageous.
So, do you ever have any like kids that don't ever have like gloves or?
Oh, yeah.
If we have like, I think I have probably a ton of softball mitts from when I played. When I was younger, can I bring those
Yeah,
and like
absolutely.
donate them if
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a collection upstairs in the closet. Like, see my granddaughter, she's gonna be playing T-ball. She doesn't have a glove. I'm looking at that selection and find her one. But if you want to donate any equipment, sure.
Yeah, anything that you guys know.
Anything you want to donate, just keep in mind that catchers' helmets, if they're really old, we can't use them. That's just a liability. You can take it home and use it for yourself or whatever. If you want to come and we can, if somebody's looking for catcher's gear to take home, they can take it home with their own liability. But I got to make sure that the catcher's equipment is top notch. So.
And if anyone's taking stuff and they have little balls, I'll buy them from.
So
What size balls you need?
11. But sometimes on Craigslist and stuff like that, you can find used balls, find a bucket of used balls. And I do apologize about that. It's just really hard to give out brand new balls for practices and teams. If there's absolutely a brand new team that doesn't have any, yes, we'll make sure you get started. Okay? Again, I said earlier, equipment. I'm going to go over Sunday and do the equipment. We've had issues getting into the building because of remodeling, which is phenomenal. Because that upstairs is like just the towels all gone. They're painting, putting a new couch. Anyway, so Sunday I'm going to do it, and Tuesday and Thursday we're going to be giving out equipment from 6 to 7:30. Okay.
This week.
Yes.
Where's the location on that?
It'll be the Vista Field.
Do you want, are you guys going to separate by each group?
Yes.
Okay, so we just watch for stats.
Yes, please.
If a player is using their own catcher's equipment, we need a board member to sign off on that for serviceability and fit. Okay? And that's just, should be self-explanatory. Because I've had girls come with like a melted helmet, wanting to use that. A girl, 14 using the chest plate like this, okay? We want to make sure that girl is protected at all times if they're using their own equipment, okay? So please just come to your VP or any board member you'll see us up by the snack shack, and have them just sign off on it and go from there, okay? We just want to make sure these girls are safe.
That's this Tuesday, Thursday around 7:30, did you say?
6 to 7:30.
6 to 7.
We will be having signed a sheet for you to fill out, okay? Make sure that's accurate. Like if you're a 16, 18 coach or 19 plus and you only want catchers here, make sure that's all we fill out, okay? That happens a lot. Coaches say, I don't need this, I don't need that. Make sure we fill out those properly and fill out the form so we can keep track of that.
If we are, sorry, excuse me, if we are like just assistant, like we put on the thing just assistant coaching, do we just automatically assume that the head coaches will be able to pick up that equipment? Will we be able to like touch base with them?
Yeah.
Kind of thing?
So teams will probably be finalized no later than Sunday evening, I would imagine. Does that sound good? So Sunday evening. So last night we did a pitching assessment, okay? And that pitching assessment was done so we could make teams as even as possible, okay? 8U and T-ball, of course, that doesn't apply to. But we don't want one team getting 3 number 1 pitchers, and then we got 3 other teams that don't have a pitcher at all. Okay? We understand girls link themselves to coaches and each other, and that's an issue that we address after the assessment. This is the first year for assessment. Next year we're going to make it mandatory. If you don't show for assessment, you don't pitch. But this year it was the first thing we've tried to do so we can make teams as even as possible. So that's why the teams will be finalizing probably Sunday evening, and those emails will be going out. Those girls that did show up, we're going to make sure we're putting them properly, and teams can have a competitive teams, you know, that they can be competitive. What?
One thing where you were saying about being an assistant coach, some of these coaches though, still, I know some people are signed up for assistant, but some do not have head coaches. So if you're able to and can be a head coach, we would really appreciate it. If you're signed up for an assistant.
If we will talk to you on the phone about that first, okay? And make sure you're okay with moving to that head coach position, okay? Because there's nothing more we want to do is force a volunteer into doing something. Of course, my wife does it all the time. But anyway, we'll call and talk to you first and make sure you're okay with that. And if you did get put in that position, there's usually always a parent or two who will step up and help you. Okay? That does happen occasionally, so we'll be notified. You'll be notified that prior to Sunday evening, probably. So
Do you mean Sunday tomorrow or Sunday next week?
Sunday tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
This
Is that the 18s
right now.
included, or are we still waiting on them?
What was that?
Are we still waiting up for 16, 18s to sign up more players, or?
So everything is still currently open. I think 16, 18, we have 5 teams, and I believe there's 10 on each team. So
Oh,
of
that's
course,
nice.
we want to get a couple more girls per team. So it's still open, but there's a late fee applied.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
If they all show up.
Yeah.
We have,
Yeah.
Even when they don't, we have friends on all the teams.
Yeah, that's, yeah, do you want to?
Yeah, we will. So right now, as far as we know, for 8U, we need 2 head coaches. 10U, we need 1, and 14U, we need 1. So if you're assistant and you're interested in moving up to that head coach position, talk to us afterwards and we can get you moved into that. If not, we'll be reaching out to parents. VPs will be reaching out to parents to see if they can coach. Don't get me wrong, I started with no experience at all. And I get it, people don't have the time, energy, what have you, but this is a volunteer organization, and that's the best we can do.
Can you bring friends and family in to help you?
Yeah,
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, we just ask that they fill out the application is all.
Okay.
So we know who's out there on the field with the girls and
Especially if they're
guys.
gonna be in the.
If-
Yeah.
Like, if you have a one-time coach that's helping you during the game, please come check in with the VP. Okay, VP should be there every game night, let them know the situation, hey, my other coach is gonna be here, this is so-and-so, because if there's an issue that arises, we need to have that contact information, you know, going forward.
Otherwise, are they just gonna sign up online?
Yes,
And,
the coach's application online, okay?
Do you have parents that say that they're willing to be
Yes.
assistant coaches on the forums?
Yes.
Okay, so you don't really need a background check again with
No.
parents?
Well, if they actually become that, yes.
Okay.
If you put them
Sign
on
up
as
on the link online.
yeah, if you accept them as an actual assistant, and they're gonna be out there, if they're gonna be on the field on game days, they need to fill out an application.
Or even at practices. If you're assistant coach, they should still have a background check.
Did you find that?
I thought that's what they would do. Yeah, because of all the.
So if you do have somebody helping you during practices, have them fill out the coach's application, even if they can't be there 100% of the time. Okay?
Yeah, by law.
Just cover everybody's butt, cover your butt, make sure these girls are safe. Okay? I'm gonna go over one more thing, and then I'm gonna let Jen talk, because you guys are probably tired of hearing my voice for a while. Well, she's only here for a few minutes. So we want to go over how teams are formed. Again, we did a pitching assessment, and we're gonna evaluate those girls and see where they're at. I don't think any of those girls were put on the same team, so I don't think that's gonna be an issue. But how we separate our teams is, the first thing we separate is all-stars. Okay, we're not gonna have 6 all-stars on one team, even though they link to each other. It's just not gonna happen. We separate all-stars throughout. If we have 5 teams, we try and make them as equal as possible. If they're a previous year all-star, they still count. Okay, so they get separated on the different teams. Next, we separate catchers and pitchers. Okay, I don't agree with catchers, but if a girl has experience catching, we try to separate them. Okay, I think you should be able to train a catcher, no matter what age group you're in. Pitchers are a little different story, especially when you get up there in other ages. It's hard to get a brand new pitcher going in 14s and 16, 18s, and 19s. So if somebody has experience and they put it down, then we try to separate them. Are you going to get a girl that says she's a pitcher and never pitched before? Maybe. It's happened to me in the past, and it's very difficult. It makes for a long season. But we can only go by what they put down on registration if they don't show up at the pitching assessment. Okay? The next will be returning players. We separate them. So non-all-stars, but they played in our league before, we separate them. And then new players. We try to make these teams as equal as possible in the spring. Those of you coming back to us in the fall, it's a whole different ballgame. Okay, and we don't need to go into that right now, but springtime, we may try and make these teams as equal as possible. Are you gonna have girls that have never played before that come and just absolutely ball out? Absolutely, I've had it in the past. Nothing we can do about it, they've never played before. They played like volleyball or soccer, they might be just a pure athlete. And they just come and just ball out, there's nothing we can do about that. Okay, but we do try to make these teams as even as possible. Okay, just so you're aware. Our fundraiser, we used to do a raffle, that's a huge hassle, so now we just do a clothing drive through Big Brothers Big Sisters. Okay? Each player will be asked to bring 3 white trash bags of clothes. Okay? The list will go out of acceptable items. This is just clothing, backpacks, hats, shoes, blankets, towels, underwear, socks, pants, shirts. Those are acceptable items. Okay? No household items whatsoever, except for maybe like dish towels and stuff like that. Okay? That will be held on May 18th. That's the same Saturday as our season end tournament, so it's going to be a lot of traffic. Big Brother will be there with trucks. You come up, you let the person attending know which team you're turning in for, and the teams with the most bag count will get a prize at the end. Do we have those determined yet? If you need to bring in clothing ahead of time, we might be able to store a small amount of clothing in our trailer. So if you need to get stuff out of your house, bring it in, we'll record who the team is for, and we'll store it in our trailer that we had, okay? Any questions on that?
So each player is required to bring 3 white trash bags
Yes.
full of clothes.
Yes, please. It's a great fundraiser with minimum amount of effort. Okay, you're getting rid of stuff that you don't need. Girls growing out of clothes, just bag them up, bring them in. Okay. Even if I don't have the storage area, I'll find some place for it if you need to. Okay. Any questions on that?
The league is money for that, is that what you're
Yes. So we're going to be getting these tickets for the team that brings the most bags. For the team, will be up to 14 people. So hopefully that'll include the coaches. They can go to a Bees game all together. Nice little social event. Okay. There's usually a league challenge out in Grantsville against other rec teams. It's a chance to give girls that never make All-Stars, never go anywhere other than just rec teams, a chance to play in a tournament. Okay, their dates are still to be determined, because last time we asked, it was going to be the same, just like last year. We're trying to do it on the same weekend as our season end tournament. And of course, we're not going to send teams out there for if we have our season end tournament. Okay, and that's out in Grantsville. So when that comes up, if he changes the dates, we'll let you know, and we'll ask that you take your team out there. Even if you can't take your full team, they don't want to travel out there, you can always get players from another team and take a team out there. It's a charity event, a fundraising for each year is usually a different thing to raise the money for, and it's usually pay at the plate. I think the league usually pays the fee for the. Anyway, it's pay at the plate, and usually like $100 to $150 for the tournament.
Tentatively, it's supposed to be on.
Yeah. So tentatively May 11th. So there won't be any games scheduled at our fields at all for those days. Okay? If that's the date. Okay?
T-ball probably will not be included in that.
Yeah. We'll probably still go forward with T-ball. The times might just be moved up for the games on the date. Okay? But they won't have T-ball out there. I think they have T-ball out there, but they won't be in the tournament. So we'll still have T-ball out on the game at a field on that Saturday. Okay? So trash cleanup. Big issue. Prior to contrary belief, the field crew is not there to pick up our trash. Okay? If we have a lot of issues and there's a lot of trash, they report to the supervisor and he can shut us down. Lately, we haven't had no field crew there at all. So don't expect them to be picking up our trash, especially the dugouts, especially your bleacher area. All other areas is kind of, we're not going to ask you to go in those areas and pick up trash. But your dugout, when you leave it, it should be clean for the next team to come in or at the end of the day. Your bleach area, make sure your parents are policing up after themselves for spectators. Okay? I know that's a lot that you're doing games, you're managing your team, you're consoling girls for crying, you're giving high fives, but just go back at the end of the day and just check your dugout, check your bleachers, and assist us as many as possible. When we're there, of course we'll be going around. We do have some paid employees by the league that run the snack bar. Occasionally they'll have downtime and they'll go around and do some stuff. But that's not their job. On any given night, there may be only one, the two of us there, so we're not going to be able to pick up trash. We're going to be doing other things. So please help in that regards. Parking in the parking lot. Do not park in any red zones. Do not make your own parking spot at the end, because that makes it hard for you to go around. If there's an ambulance that comes in, they're gonna need space to get by. We share the parking lot with baseball. We cannot control what they do, so sometimes it gets crowded. There's other parking at the church. Is there a little bit of a walk? Yes. But that's just what we have to do. We park on the street, don't park anybody's driveway, of course. We got connections with Unified Police, and they will be coming ticketing people and towing people. This year, we're asking people that are dropping off, don't stop right at the gate. We're asking you to pull forward, like underneath the trees, that way people can get around you, to drop off, and your girls can still get the game on time. Okay? That's also in case there's like multiple people dropping off, we have everybody pull forward, there'll be enough room. Okay? If we see people there just dropping off in front of the gates, we're gonna say something. We're gonna make a mental note. They do it again. We're gonna say something. Make a mental note. Third time, we're gonna be a little more strict. Okay? That's something you need to put out to your parents. Okay? Pull forward as far as possible. And even if you're gonna be wham bam, we're done. Pull forward as far as possible if you're just dropping off. Any questions on that? Okay, I'm gonna let Jen, our UIC, address any questions. She's gonna lay down the spiel about umpires. Okay, Jen?
So I can answer any questions you guys might have. I don't have a lot to say. Our umpire crew is great. I have all the faith in the world in them. Lance and Mike will be doing the older age groups again. I'll be handling 8 and under because they're the cutest. And I have Dave will be there doing games when he's not coaching. We have some very experienced high school players that will be there on Saturdays doing games. If you guys have any questions or concerns, feel free to bring them up with me. Any questions now? Sweet. No? Anything else?
And please don't be intimidated to talk to Jen or
Yeah, I'm a nice
Lance
person.
or Mike or anything, because sometimes people are like, we don't want to talk to them. We're like, they are the nicest people, and they're more willing to help you before they have to get upset if you come to them. Super good people.
That being said, please read up on the protest rules of the US AAA or USSSA rule book. Okay, those are the protest rules we follow. Read up on those, know those, and if you have a protest, please follow the appropriate steps. The additional thing to the USSSA rule book protest rules is inform your VP or a board member of what's going on immediately. So we can have an impartial witnessing what's going on, what the protest is about, and so we can move forward from there. Okay? We're not going to field any protests that are 2 hours after the game, 5 minutes after the game, nothing like that. We're going to follow them. And yeah, so the head coach is the only one that can protest. Parents can't protest. Assistant coaches can't protest.
And I'm just going to add to that, the protests go to the board. They don't come to umpires. You can certainly make us aware that you guys will be protesting, but we don't handle protests as umpires. The board makes the final decision on any protests. They may ask our input on what might have happened during the game, but the board is one that makes the final decision. The protests go to the board. We will follow the USSSA rule book as umpires. However, the league rules will apply first. So the league rules apply, and then any USSSA will apply, because the league will have certain rules about, you can only score X amount of runs per inning, everybody has to bat, things like that aren't going to be in the USSSA rule book. Those will apply before any USSSA rules.
And will you get us those like the rules that are specific, like, I know pitchers, outs or pitchers, it's outs, yeah. And then, okay.
Yeah, we'll post all of that in your,
And we're gonna go over the pitching rule in a few minutes.
But we'll make sure we post that for everybody to have to.
When I'm referring to the USSSA rule book for protest, it's the actual time of protest, okay? It's before the next pitch and before the umpire walks off the field.
Right, and those things like that, where you're protesting like, did that girl touch second base? Those are obviously things you bring to the umpire. But if there's a protest as far as like, this team had an illegal player, that goes to the board. That's
Yes.
not something an umpire would handle. So thank you for making that clear. But yeah, things that are actually on the field that are part of the game, certainly bring that up with the umpire. But things like that need to be brought up with the board as far as, you know, that person had an ineligible player, or this team overpitched this girl, that's not something that an umpire would handle. You're gonna bring that to the board. You know, actual things that happen during the game, you wanna protest, you know, the girl dropped that ball, things like that. Obviously, that's gonna be at the umpire's discretion, and things that do need to be addressed before the next pitch.
Right. And I'm just, when the USSSA rule comes into play, that on-field stuff applies, but also, we don't want to hear about a protest after you win home. Okay? So we want that timely manner of a protest before the teams leave the field. That's why, that's the only time the umpire is going to get involved. Is before that umpire leaves the field, you say, hey, I got a protest, can I get a board member over here? Send one of your assistant coaches to get the board member, and you make sure the umpire understands what's going on, okay? He's not gonna make a determination if it's something that goes to the board, but we need them as a impartial advisor saying, okay, they're protesting right now. This is why they're protesting. Is that okay?
Right, yeah.
So,
I mean, they're gonna need our input on whatever it was, but,
What if the head coach is not at the game?
so it will be the acting head coach at that time.
Okay.
And you need to inform your VP of that. Okay, so we can avoid the issues. Say, yeah, I can't be at the game, such and such is in my stead. Okay. That being said, here at the rec level, we only have one umpire on the field at a time. Okay, so there's going to be calls missed. Umpires are going to make mistakes. They're human. We can't berate them about it. Be like Judd and have a nice calm voice, but be tall and be tall and imposing and say, hey, timeout. Lou, can I get a timeout? And go and ask them about whatever.
oh yeah,
issue.
our umpires are great. If you come and talk to us, you know, with even temper, then we're gonna talk to you. If you come yelling at us, we're probably gonna send you back to the dugout.
And the proper way to do that in a game is to call a timeout. Okay? And everybody's aware that everybody knows, should know, as a head coach, or if you're new, that the umpire does not have to recognize your timeout. Okay? They can say, no, we want the game to continue. Okay? So you can ask for timeout, but that doesn't mean they grant you your timeout.
We usually will though.
Yes. So we're going to go over disciplinary actions real quick. Obviously a negative connotation, but something that we experience all the time and really puts a damper on things. If a coach is ejected from the game, not banned to the dugout, but coaches ejected from the game, they will be gone for the season, but it will be reviewed by the board. Okay? If there's just something outrageous that you get ejected for, which has really never happened, it will be reviewed by the board. Written statements will be made, and we'll get all the facts if you desire to return. If you don't desire to return, then we obviously won't pursue anything. Okay? So, and if you're ejected from the field at all, if you're a spectator and you're a coach, you can expect to be gone from the season as well. Okay? If a parent is ejected, they are gone for the season. Gone. They are to sit outside the fence, and that's it. Okay? Parents are some of the biggest most of you are parents, so you know. That's the biggest issue of us losing players and umpires and board members and the such. Okay? So they're just gone for the season. And that makes their player what? Exactly. So any spectator that's ejected from the game makes that player that they're associated with ineligible for All-Stars.
And that happened last year to a couple of really good players that would have been all-stars.
Yeah.
It was kind of sad for the girl.
But if we just eject the parents, most of them don't care. They'll go sit outside the fence. So we had to put a consequence for their actions, for their behavior, that they have to consider above themselves. I hope you understand that. It's not trying to really punish the girls, but we don't want that behavior in All-Stars, because in All-Stars, that level of intensity ramps up about 100%. Okay? It's a much more competitive environment, and things get heated, and not to mention that, it gets hot outside, so people's tempers are flaring. So we don't want that kind of attitude out there with our All-Stars, because you're out there in a much wider community representing Taylorville. Okay? We don't want to hear about parents, pushing somebody or cursing somebody out at All-Stars, because that's not what we want to be about. Okay? Everybody really wants to be a good person inside. They really do. And that's what we want to try and get to. I do know of players in the past, probably the best player at our age group, got denied All-Stars because of her father. Because coincidentally, he became the president of the league after that. So yeah, that's parents or spectators gone for the season. Makes players eligible for All-Stars. Players, if they're physical, verbal, what have you, they will receive a verbal warning, second offense, a written warning, and then a third, not eligible for All-Stars. Okay? If it's violence, it's just, they're automatically done. For the seasons, for All-Stars, for everything. Violence is just not going to be accepted. Okay? There are bang plays at bases that girls run into each other, that's not considered violence. But a girl that throws a punch or a shoulder or does something intentional, yes, we're going to really consider that and review that, and that player could be gone for the season or just ineligible for All-Stars or whatever we feel is applicable. Yeah, sorry. Any questions on that? We don't want girls not to play. So we're not here to nitpick every little action they do. But foul language, that sort of thing, just can't be accepted, because like Saturdays, if we have a 14-year-old cursing, and there's 8-year-olds walking past them, that's the thing we need to avoid. We don't want that impression. Okay? No smoking or vaping at practices or games. When you guys get your practice places, we're going to ask that you submit your practice places to your VPs, and you be getting spot checked on not only the skills you're teaching, but make sure that the safety things are being followed. Okay? No foul language at practices or games. Okay? Any questions so far? I know this is kind of dry, kind of boring, but stuff that needs to be gone over. Oh, yes. So practices, locations, and times are determined by you, the coaches. We cannot get Vista Fields for practices. We're trying, but they don't want to pay somebody to come maintain it, is what it is. So we usually don't get them for practices. You may see some all-star practices toward the end of the season there, but that all depends on how the season goes, if we have to extend it out, make up games or whatever have you. Yes, sir.
You stated that you, during practices, you want coaches that are approved coaches or basically fill out a form during practice. I mean, oftentimes you want to include parents in practice, especially real young ones.
Yes.
I mean, Are we really gonna have all the parents trying to fill those out too, or?
It'd be best if you have your main ones filled out and inform your VP, say, hey, I don't have assistant coaches, these are the people helping me, and we can go from there.
Because I know the head coach that I represent loves to try and get all the parents, all of them, to try and actually participate, because that usually yields more attendance, if you will. Usually yields that the girls will actually be there at practice and at our games. And when they're really, really young like that, sometimes that makes a big difference,
Yeah.
whether or not the people show up or not.
Yeah.
And not so much about the physical ability.
Right. Yeah, with the younger groups, I understand, because like 8, I'm sure T-ball is going to be like herding cats. But if that's the case, have your head coach contact the VP and explain what's going on, and we can go from there.
I understand the security reasons,
Yeah.
but I also understand that we're trying to foster proper play
Right.
and to be unified with the parents and the child. And
Right.
that's something we want to develop.
Absolutely. I don't disagree with that at all. I just go through the proper channels and say, hey, this is what we're doing. Am I okay to do this? I'm letting you know what's going on, you know, and it shouldn't, I honestly don't see it being an issue, but we want those kids to be safe.
So at practices, the main thing that we require, and it has to be done, is you have to have a male and a female stay the whole, adult stay the whole time. So if you're a male coach, you have to have a female over 18 that will be there the whole time. If you're a female, you have to have a male that's over 18 there the whole time. And trust me, we've had it reported for different things, and luckily that's why. So at practices, that is what we were requiring.
So just any parent, right? If that's.
Yeah. So if a parent is willing to stay there, that is. It doesn't have to be on your coaching staff or anything like that, but there has to be a male and a female there at all times during practices.
What if a parent isn't able to say, we contact you all when it
Yes.
comes?
Yes.
Yeah.
And we have had parents that have reached out to us and said, hey, they don't have a female here. They don't, and it's just, honestly, it's the sad world that we're living in nowadays. You guys can be the greatest people, you know, you can pass background checks, but their kids, unfortunately, these days will tell things, and then we've had to have an investigation, and we've had to have police involved. It's just not a fun situation.
Yes. So, when you say that the game, was it the game starts the 13th of April for T-ball?
For T-ball,
Yes. We can start coaching like.
Oh, yeah,
yes.
yes, yes.
You'll start practices way before this.
Yes.
Okay, and for like practices, are we able to do them at other places
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
besides like Vista
Yes.
Fields?
That's what I was kind of getting to, is
Okay.
it's really determined by you, days and times are determined by you. We just can't get you into Vista to practice.
Okay,
And we
perfect.
also, unfortunately, right now, are not able to get Murray Hills because they're starting their own
They're trying to start their own.
again, so it's.
Good luck finding dirt this time of year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really hard to get dirt fields, just because there's so many travel teams.
And they're doing away for fields.
Yeah,
so-
there's baseball going on, like it's.
But T-ball's, for you, T-ball is really going to be easy to practice on grass.
Yeah.
It really will be.
Right, and like in elementary school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Some of the
Elementary,
Uh,
one for Sheffield,
fields.
back.
Right.
You do have to have permission for elementary and churches now.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is
So,
if you
yeah,
get
it-
hurt
it's-
on their property, what's to keep you from suing them? And that's exactly what they say. If you don't have your own insurance, you're not practicing.
We do have our own insurance, just so everybody knows.
So if you need a copy of that certification, contact your VP, we'll get that to you, okay? All right? So yeah, practices, location, times are all determined by your coaches. So unfortunately, you did the best you can and hope for the best, you know?
And just be aware that some parents, you know, girls aren't gonna make it to all the practices, it's gonna happen. Try not to make it before, 5, I guess. Just because a lot of parents work up until 5, some work till 5:30 or 6, so they're doing their best to get their girls to practices. especially those 16, 18 years, those girls are the hardest age group.
19.
Yes.
I was gonna suggest something to new parents, like if it is your first
We
team,
literally
it's nice
show
to
up
like
late.
form down to the parents, like what day are you gonna be able to make, what time,
Yeah.
so that way you can ensure you get the most.
Yes, absolutely.
I disagree with that.
Well,
I mean, you can make it whenever, but I'd rather see it's both ways.
Right,
More
right.
successful is when communicating with the parents and making it fun.
That being said, what she's touching on is if you have a player that's not making it to any practices and you want to bench them, please notify your VP of why you're benching that person. I mean, it could be anything based on your team philosophy. Bad attitude, language, missing a lot of practices, whatever. But if you're going to suspend somebody, contact your VP so they're aware of it. Okay? So now we're going to go into so we have the USSSA rules and we have TFSL bylaws. And that's what we're getting ready to go into. Anybody need a break? Donut? All right. So the bylaws and the USSSA rule book will be posted and pinned to the top of your group chats. Okay? So you'll be able to get to those at your leisure.
Taking a 15-minute recess.
They'll also be posted in Sports Connect. Sports Connect is of course, if you guys fill out that coach's application, that's where a lot of the schedules are going by and standings and so on and so on. Okay? So the bylaws and USSSA rule book will be in there as well. Pitching rules. Pitching rules for all ages except yes. 19. So T-ball, 8U, 19 plus, this does not apply. But in 10U all the way to 16, 18U, here's the rule. You must use 2 pitchers every game for at least 1 inning. 1 inning consists of 3 consecutive outs, or if the opposing team reaches the run rule and you switch sides, or if the pitcher hits 3 batters in a row, or not in a row, but in that inning. Okay? Let me go over those real quick. So the 3 consecutive outs, that does not include a break that you change from defense to offense. Okay? It's got to be 1 continuous inning. Okay? 3 consecutive outs. Okay? The 6th run, or the run rule is determined, I'll go over that. I think we've made everything 5 runs. So if a team reaches 5 runs and you've had your pitcher in there, then you can change pitcher. She's qualified her appearance. Okay? If a pitcher, this is our bylaws, if a pitcher hits 3 batters in an inning, she is not only qualified her pitching qualification that she has appeared for an inning, but then she is also removed from pitching for the rest of that game. Okay? So you can play anywhere else, but she's not allowed to come back in and pitch. Okay? Is there any questions on that?
That's just in a row though, right?
No, in an
So
inning.
3 innings.
In an inning.
Total 3.
Yeah.
So if she hits a pitcher, a batter first inning and 2 in the second inning, she's still good.
So it's not 3 per game, it's per inning, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so she can hit 2 one inning and 2 the next, and she's good.
Yeah, everything.
She can hit 1 every inning.
That's what I can.
Okay? Pitching is a very skilled position, and we're trying to get coaches to teach girls how to pitch. Because when we get to the all-star level or next level, we need pitchers. Okay? Plain and simple as that. Okay? I always train 3 to 4 pitchers on my teams. Even if they're not very good, it doesn't matter to me. Okay? I have a different philosophy than a lot of people, but that's just me. If you go in and remove a pitcher in the middle of an inning, you better make sure she gets back in the next inning to start or something. Okay? I got a complaint, I just was made aware of that this week, that I took a calculated risk with my 10U player And, because we were only getting really to 2 innings because of the walks. But I had my pitcher pitch the 2nd inning, and the other team just absolutely flipped the lid. It's like, you can't do that, you gotta change your pitcher. No, it's all up to the coach when you change your pitcher, okay? I took a calculated risk that game, okay? We still ended up losing, so it didn't matter. But it's all up to the coach how they want to transpire that. But if you get to the end of the game and time expires, and that second pitcher has only pitched one out, you forfeited the game. Okay? That's just the way it's got to be.
Okay, so when you guys first implemented that in the fall a couple years ago, you had one team that would pitch their pitcher for a couple outs, pitch another pitcher for an out, put the other pitcher back in to get the score to be where they needed it. They never actually did the pitcher change for the out rule, so I think we need to make that a specific, clear thing, because we're like flipping these innings
That it has to be
on our team.
consecutive.
So it has to be, so if they're in it.
Right, but the way they were looking at, well, we did our pitcher change, asked the umpire, we had two pitchers in.
Right.
And that's how they got around that.
So the
A couple of years ago, too, or a year ago.
So the really person that's gonna be having to pay attention to that is you as an opposing coach.
So if the pitcher's been in 3 outs for the run rule,
Or 3 batters hit.
or 3 batters in, because that one's obvious,
They
they have to
qualified.
switch a pitcher. And if they don't, then I need
They
to
don't
say-
have to switch the pitcher if they've been
If-
in the 3 outs. It's up to them at what point
But
they
if
get
they
that other
haven't,
one in.
they haven't pitched another pitcher, then
Then
whether
they're
I'm
risk
down
of
50
forfeit.
runs or up, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They're gonna lose if they didn't do the proper pitcher thing.
And that's another thing to it's not the
Not the
umpire's
umpire's.
responsibility to tell you, hey, you need to switch your pitcher, or for the umpire to call you on it. That is your job as the opposing coach. That is not the umpire's job to recognize they didn't switch their pitcher and walk over and tell you, hey, you need to switch your pitcher. That's not the umpire's job. That's your job as a coach and an opposing coach when that switch is made.
And we do have umpires that are aware of the rule, but that's still not their job.
Right, no, and we might make a mental note. So in case it comes up, they never switch their pitcher. In case it comes up, we can verify that to the board that they didn't switch. And make sure that your scorekeepers and game changer are making that pitcher change as well.
Yes. There's a place in Game Changer to put who's pitching and who goes in and what have you, okay? So, if there's a violation, the person that's gonna notice it the most is the opposing pitcher or opposing coach, okay? They come report it to the board. That's not something you're gonna protest, to the umpire. That's something you'll protest to the board immediately after the game. Because there's no way to determine that until the game time is expired. So you come report that to the board, we'll get all the facts and go over the issues, and DEPs will research that, and if it's a violation, they just forfeit.
I have a question.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
I have one pitcher who's really struggling. I put in another one who finishes the inning. And then I pitch my good pitcher, that counts, right?
No.
That's what I was saying. Look, that's what that team was doing.
No, I mean, like, I have 2 not great pitchers who share 1 inning, and then my good pitcher can pitch the second inning?
No.
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 So they have to complete.
So basically, you're better off just letting one of your struggling pitchers get through the inning, whether it's the 5 runs or the 3 outs.
Okay.
I understand why that, yeah, I get it.
It's confusing until you're,
Okay.
you know.
Chances are, you're not gonna get a complaint about that. But if it does come down to it, you have not
Oh,
applied the
chances
rule.
are, though, you are gonna get a complaint about that. We heard, that's what we heard a lot about.
Okay.
Especially in the older age group.
Because you get the one that has a really good pitcher, so you'll bring your not so good pitcher in for 2 pitches, 2 batters, and then you'll bring in your good pitcher and then strike out everybody.
Yeah.
And then they'll leave the good pitcher in.
Yeah, and they haven't qualified their
And that's how it ended up that fall season when we first did. And it's like, we were trying to do the right thing, and then,
Right.
dude, I'm getting blown out by pitchers.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's a protest that will come to the board, and the only way, of course, we have to wait till after the game, because you never know what's gonna happen in the game, if they put another pitcher in or not, okay?
So do both pitchers have to have 3 consecutive outs?
Yes.
Or the run rule.
Or the run rule, or 3 hit batters.
An official opinion.
Yeah, just pitch one inning.
Just
It's
finish.
gonna be your easy. That's.
And there's a reason for that. We want games to be competitive, but we also want to teach these girls how to pitch. Okay? You get girls that don't want to pitch at all, and what I do is I take my most athletic girl and I make her into a pitcher. Okay? Especially in younger age groups. I have a philosophy where I never pull a pitcher in the middle of an inning no matter what. I don't care. I want that girl to learn. I want that girl to get confidence. And I'm going to let her know she never gets pulled in the middle of the inning unless she hits 3 batters or unless she gets injured. Or unless she gets mentally upset. That's the only time I would pull a pitcher. Okay? I have a different philosophy on it. We have tried numerous other ways to do it in the past, like counting outs. God, what else was it? I forget all the other ways we've tried. And this has been the simplest way we can figure it out. If you have a suggestion, please bring it to the board. We'll gladly review it and try and, make a simple rule. But this is really to try and get girls to learn how to pitch and make things even. Because I forgot your name, sir.
Charlie.
Charlie. You can get one, you can have like an age group.
That's what I did to you, that's what I did.
You can have one age group has a dominating pitcher and she pitches every single game, no matter what, and nobody gets a chance. Girls don't get to hit, they don't get on base. It's just not a very conducive learning environment, and that's what we are, a learning league. Okay, wins are great, but learning is way more important than that. And yes, I do get hung up on winning, losing, but just to give you an idea, I've lost just about every game for the last 2 seasons. But you know what? I've had players go and play high school. I have players go and play college. So that's my goal. Any questions on the pitching rule? If they're removed for injury, they have also qualified their if they're removed from injury and they don't return to the game in any capacity. They have also qualified their pitching requirements. Okay? That means they get injured, they don't go in the back end at all. Okay? Batting helmets. Batting helmets, there's 4 supplied from the league to teams. If you are doing any batting drill, they must have helmets on. And the girls around them in the immediate facility must have a helmet on. Okay? I am a stickler for this. If I see you up there warming up before a game with footballs, yes, I'm going to come talk to you and say, these girls better get helmets on. And I would keep a mental note. If I have to talk to you 2 or 3 times, I will talk to your VP about suspending you. Okay? There's reason behind it. There's a story behind it. And I don't want to go into it right now, but because this is getting long in the tooth. So, any batting drill, they have a bat in their hand, they have a helmet on. Okay? What?
Catchers too, but
Anytime the catcher is crouching, they have to have a catcher's helmet
a
on.
lot of the other catchers, they will not, because they,
Oh yeah, they'll push it.
yeah, they will push it.
It has to be a catcher's helmet too, not a batter helmet, not a fielder's mask, it has to be a catcher's mask.
So if they're down in the catcher's position warming up a pitcher, they must have a catcher's mask on.
Just the mask though, right? If I have someone warming them up, they don't have to.
Yeah, just the mask, please.
In this league, are they down in the catcher's position or not?
It's according to whether you can do them too or not.
But can I just wear a regular batter's helmet? Okay.
Resupply equipment, we want them in full equipment.
I think the last time I watched it, you mentioned the catcher would stand behind the plate.
Yeah, we
far behind.
don't really have a requirement, but it's according to where you can get them to stand. Yeah, it's all to the coach on that. But yeah, they have everything on. So, home and away dugouts. Please respect the home and away dugouts. And Game Changer is not the official home and away. It's the Sports Connect schedule. Okay? It'll list the home and away. If you're home, you're on third base dugout side. If you're away, you're on the first base dugout side. If you have a double header, you do not have to move. Okay? If you have a double header, you do not have to move. Okay? Substitute player rules. If you need to get a substitute from another team, they must play the outfield and they must bat at the end of your quarter. Okay? There is only going to be a coach's agreement in what the coach's agreement in what 19? 16? Substitute. So 16, 18s, and 19s, we're going to bring back the coach's agreement. Coaches, if you need a player to catch or to pitch, well, no, it's just pitching only, right?
In 19,
So it's pitching only. So if you need a coach, if you don't have a player that's ever pitched and you need a substitute pitcher, you need to talk to the other coach, have your VP present, so you guys come to an agreement and say, okay, I agree to this, and move forward. Okay? All other age groups, the substitute players must play the outfield and bat at the end of your quarter. You must fill in all your other positions first with your own team. There are no forfeits in this league. If you only have 3 players, show up and we could get you a full team. We will still play. We give those girls that showed up an opportunity to play. We will try and get you as many substitutes as possible. And the good thing about that, usually the girls that sub are usually the better players. And that game is still going to count. There's no protest about that. Okay?
So it has to be, like, for example, and this is what you implemented last year, if there's a 12 and under team that needs a puck-up player, and this 12 and under girl's been playing 14s all season, they are not eligible to pick up in 12 and under, correct? Last year, that's what you guys did.
I'm sorry.
If you have a girl,
Yes,
for
you
example,
you can play up, but you cannot play down.
right, so if
So, no,
Like,
because
if you
what
have
Olivia did, she.
8 and under players playing 10 and under,
Yes.
an 8 and under coach can't pull those more experienced
10
girls
and
that have been
under.
playing 10s to pick up.
Right.
And that goes the same for every age group.
Right.
If you're playing up, you're not eligible to drop back down and pick up for a team.
The only one that's
younger.
eligible would be 19, and that's if we have 17 or 18-year-olds that meet our
Right.
cutoff. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so a substitute player has to come from the age appropriate level. Okay? That means if they're signed up for 12s, that means that's what you have to do.
And the exception would be if they're playing in 19s and they're 16 or 17
Yeah.
or
Yes.
18, they can still play 18 and under.
Yeah. Okay. I went over chaperone and sitting player must have documentation if you're doing disciplinary actions for that. All players must bat and play defense every other inning. All players must bat regardless of the score. If time expires and you have 2 batters that have not batted at all, even if you had to switch sides, we'll switch sides and those 2 batters will get the bat, no matter what. Okay? Umpires know this. They'll try and implement it, but it's up to you to let the other coach know, hey, got 2 players that haven't batted, can you switch real quick, get them at bat. Okay? Defense. A girl cannot sit for more than 2 consecutive innings. So if she sits 1 inning, she's got to go in the next inning, play defense. Unless there's a disciplinary action and you're sitting there for a reason, have documentation. Okay? We want girls to play. Time limits, T-ball is 55 minutes, no new inning after 55 minutes. Okay? 8U in 10 minutes, 60 minutes, no new inning after 55. Okay? 12U to 19 plus is 70 minutes, no new inning after 65. All innings started will be finished. Okay? However, if umpire may come to you and say, okay, you can't catch up, time has expired, they might call the game. That's really their discretion. Okay?
With that though, if not all of your girls have batted at least once, please let the umpire know that they need to all bat.
Umpires have always been really good about it.
Yeah.
Has everybody batted?
Yeah.
All the umpires know that rule.
Yeah,
so
our
that-
umpires are extremely good.
And there may
Things like
be
that.
a situation where home team's ahead by more than 5 runs, and visiting team still has 2 girls. Once the time is up, they'll kill that in and let the rest of the girls from the other team bat. And that goes the same, like if there's ever a team that can't catch up, regardless of who's up to bat, the game will be over when they when the time is up, if the team can't catch up. Because these guys don't wanna be here all night, so you guys can keep running up the score. You know, if the team can't catch up, once time's expired, the game is over. Regardless of who's up to bat, with the exception if there's girls that haven't hit. Then those girls will hit and then the game will be over.
We are going to institute an 80-minute drop dead rule. If the game just, well, technically it should never really come into play, but if it does, then
We've had some games that, if we have to start an inning, you know, a couple minutes before that deadline, and then both teams, they either can't throw strikes or it pushes every game back for the entire day, and it makes it difficult.
so ties, T-ball through 12U can end in a tie. Okay, so we don't do an international tiebreaker ending from 12U on down. If the game ends, time limit, and the game is tied, then it's tied. Each team in the standings will get a point. Okay? 14U on up, we'll play one international tiebreaker. And after that, if the game is still tied, then it's tied. For an international tiebreaker, the run rule goes down to 3 runs for that inning. So your team can only score max of 3 runs. Okay? Because we don't want these times like playing like
We
20
don't want to be
minutes.
home at 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Playing, you know.
So
Yeah.
for international tiebreaker, the run rule is 3 runs. If you're unaware of that, don't know what that means, I can talk to you afterwards and give you the details of what an international tiebreaker consists of.
What is the rule about games called due to like light or weather? Do we have to?
45
2
minutes.
complete innings, like if there are 2 complete innings, is the game done?
45 minutes.
Yeah, we have to
Okay.
give 45 minutes, and if not, then we redo the game.
And I think
We
with
do the whole thing, or we start
The whole
from
thing.
the top of the inning?
Yeah,
We
the
usually
whole
start
thing.
from,
And the 8s and 10s, it's like 35 minutes.
Something-
Because their
yeah,
games are less.
yeah.
It's like a 2/3 of the game.
yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
so 8s and 10s, it would be like 35 minutes, but that is considered drop dead. Okay, so we will revert back to the last full inning score, and that will be the score of the game.
Okay.
Does everybody understand that? So if the away team only gets through 1 batter and we end it from rain, we go back to the beginning of the end of the last full inning, and whatever score that is the score of the game. Everybody understand that? Okay? Yeah, so 12U on up, it's 45 minutes, everybody else is down. And typically that will come from the UIC, say, hey, we can't play anymore, we're done. Okay? That is an umpire call of weather. It's not the board's call unless we have, Jen's not there and we don't have anybody really taking charge. We'll make a determination, say we're done, okay? Runs per inning, we made everything 5 runs except for 19 plus. 19 up is 6 runs. Okay? So every age group, including T-ball, we made 4, right?
Right.
T-ball, we made 4 runs per inning, okay? But everybody else is 5 runs per inning. Except for 19 plus is 6. Okay? So a maximum of 10 players allowed on defense at a time. Must bat entire lineup. 12U through 19 plus, there's no coach pitch. Stealing home is allowed. Stealing first on the drop third strike is allowed. 10U, there's no infield fly rule. 12U on up, there's infield fly determined by the umpire. Okay? Sometimes you won't hear the umpire, they'll just raise their hand, and you'll have to notice that, that's an infield fly. If you don't know the infield fly rule, come talk to Jen afterwards, just to be able to hang out, or me and I can explain it. Drop third strike, if you don't understand it, I can explain it to you, okay? Speed up runners are allowed in all age groups, for the runner or for the pitcher and catcher, okay? If she comes up to bat while she's on base, she's out, okay? So if you sub in a player for the pitcher and that person is still on base and she comes up to bat, she's out.
So it doesn't have to be the last out?
It can be anyone you choose.
Okay.
But keep in mind that if if it's her turn to bat and she's still on base, she will be considered out at the plate.
Okay.
So keep that in mind. You'll want to think strategically there. In the case of an injury, a girl gets hit in the leg and she doesn't want to run, it would be the last completed at bat.
Who runs for her?
Correct.
Okay.
Unless, of course, it's the pitcher or catcher. Then you can choose anyone.
For 8 and T-ball, if we get to it, you have to field the infield as standard, the 6 players, but you can put every player remaining in the outfield on the grass, okay? So in 8U, if you have 12 players, field or infield, you can have 6 outfielders, if you so choose. Okay, they have to be on the grass. We want girls involved at any of those ages. All other, there's a maximum of 10 players allowed on the field at a time. If you want to play with less, that's up to you.
In T-ball and 8 and under, coaches are also allowed on the field. There's a maximum of 2, and they have to be on the grass. They obviously can't assist players by, grabbing the player or grabbing the ball. They, tell them, go get the ball, because they that age needs that help.
And it is so cute watching all them little kids from
Yeah.
one side of the
Yeah,
field to the other to get the ball.
but they do need to remain on the grass. We've had some coaches, if in between, the catcher's still getting in position or in between or whatever, they want to run in and, put a player in a certain position, that's fine, but once the ball is pitched, they've got to be on the grass.
In T-ball, we're still working out. I know it's going to be difficult with the younger girls, but I think we're going to implement where 2 coaches are allowed in the outfield.
Right, yeah.
To help organize the players.
Well, with T-ball, there's not going to be enough for an outfield.
Right.
So I'll
Right.
get with you guys and figure out how
Yeah.
you want to put the
Yeah.
T-ball coaches.
Okay. In the 8U, there's technically should be one allowed in the outfield, but we really don't do that much. Okay? But if you really want to, check with Jen, make sure she's okay with it, especially the start of the season. Okay? There could be one in the outfield with the players.
So are you changing it to 1?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can we do that with the older age groups too?
No.
Can we throw things at them if they're not watching? Like a water balloon or something?
As long as no parents are watching.
Oh,
Well, in 8 and under, in 8 and under, quite often the little girls in the outfield, the coach's biggest job is just making them stand up and quit digging in the
Yes.
dirt. Because, we have some girls in 8 and under that can hit the ball out there, and it's a safety issue if they're got their head down and they're not looking. So, there will be times when I stop the game and they gotta stand up. And
I coached All-Star this past summer, and there's a team called Grit that will hit the ball to the fence and 8U. So it can become dangerous for some of the girls that hit. Mercy rule, this is USSSA rules, 15 runs after 3 innings, game is over. Again, we will still allow every girl to bat, but the game will be over. Okay? So if you have 1 and they have 16, that's the game. Okay? It's 12 runs after 5 innings, and we just don't want girls to be out there getting slaughtered and having, just down on themselves and stuff like that. So 15 runs after 3, 12 after 5.
And with the time limit, it's rare that we get that many innings in, so it's most of the time the game will end because time has expired and one of the teams can't catch up if it gets like that.
Going back to rainouts, 35 minutes for 8 and 10U and T-ball, 45 for 12U on up. Rainouts will be rescheduled for the following Friday. So even if you have a rainout on Monday, there's no way we could reschedule it for that Friday because we got to give the county a week's notice. So it'll be rescheduled for the following Friday. Fridays are our makeup days and also our days that we're doing tryouts and so forth and so forth. So games will be on Mondays, Wednesdays for most, Saturdays for most. Fridays will be reserved for rainouts. Again, we try to get that information out as soon as possible. But it will be rescheduled for the following Friday, so you'll be able to plan for that. The last thing is petticoat. And I say again, petticoat. okay? So now I'm gonna tell you what those three things were, those three words. For all those coaches that aren't here, if they don't watch the video on YouTube, and give the VP those three words, if they don't get equipment, and they don't get the roster. So, they could be behind the gate people. We need coaches here to answer any questions and get all on the same page as far as what our attitude is as a board, what your responsibilities are, and also to get input from you guys as far as experience and suggestions and so forth and so forth. So at this point, meeting is adjourned. If you have any questions, I know there's a couple coaches that need help getting filled out with paperwork or applications. We can help with that. Any other questions? If you need explanation on anything, you can see us afterwards. We'll be available for the next.
And we have as soon as our teams tomorrow or Monday.
Yes.
Is there a date they can start practice?
As soon as they get to Westbrook.
Just take a look.
All right. Thank you all for showing up. I appreciate it.
So can I come to my account? So is this what you do now? You don't sit behind the plate and players?
I do, but, I really like
And then
it.
Let's say last time you were for Carson.
This is only for
That might have been.
She was up in the States for